Hello learners, it's Teacher Nelly back again. Today we want to talk about parts of speech. Like in my previous lesson, we talked about parts of speech, but we never discussed them in details. So today we want to discuss them in details and give examples, and from then we will know how to use good parts of speech and to use them correctly. So if you're not in my previous class, I welcome you to my YouTube class today so that you may learn and enjoy. First of all, we are going to start with the nouns. We are going to discuss the nouns. What did we say nouns are? Nouns, these are names of people, places, and objects. Names of people, places, and objects. After knowing, let us give examples of nouns. There are two major types of nouns. We have the concrete nouns and the abstract nouns. Under concrete nouns, these are things that can be perceived by all the five senses. Like we can touch them, we can see them, and at times we can even feel them. These are people, things like objects, things like places, mountains. These are called concrete objects because we can see them, we can touch them, and even feel them. And another major type of nouns we have, abstract nouns. These are names of things that cannot be perceived by the five senses. So let us look at them one by one. Number one, we said we have concrete nouns. Concrete nouns. In number two, we have abstract nouns. Concrete nouns. Under concrete nouns, these are things that can be perceived by all the five senses. Like we can touch them, we can see them, and at times we can even feel them. These are people, things like objects, things like places, mountains. These are called concrete objects because we can see them, we can touch them, and even feel them. And another major type of nouns we have, abstract nouns. These are names of things that cannot be perceived by the five senses. So let us look at them one by one. Number one, we said we have concrete nouns. Concrete nouns. In number two, we have abstract nouns. Concrete nouns. Under concrete nouns, we have collective nouns, common nouns. Can we list them together? Concrete nouns. Under concrete nouns, now let us look at main types of concrete nouns. Main types of concrete nouns. Like I said, concrete nouns, these are things that can be perceived by all the five senses. Like you can see them, we can touch them, and at times you can even smell and even taste. These are things like pens, books, pencils. So when we are looking at main types of concrete nouns, number one, we have common nouns. Common nouns. What are common nouns? Common nouns these are names of anything that we can see and touch. Like a book, we say this is a book. This book is anything that we can see and even touch it. Like you can see Teacher Nelly can touch a book. Now we say this is a book. And when they are many, we will say books. These are books. Teacher Nelly has 2 books. Or we can say Paul left his books at school. And now number 2, we have proper nouns. Proper nouns. What are proper nouns? These are the specific names of people or places. Proper nouns only refer to specific things like a person or a place. We can say Teacher Nelly. Now when we are saying Teacher Nelly, when we are writing any proper noun, they both start in capital letter. For example, we'll say Teacher Nelly, or we will say Paul. Names of places: Nairobi, Nigeria. Or we'll even say Mount Kenya. Both Teacher Nelly, Teacher and Nelly, they both start in a capital letter because that's a proper noun. When we are saying Mount Kenya, the first letter M will be in capital and the first letter K will also be in capital. That's a proper noun. Another example of concrete nouns we have collective nouns. Number 3 is collective nouns. Collective nouns. These are objects that can be found in groups. We cannot talk about these things unless we put them in groups. For example, we will say a convoy of vehicles. For instance, when we use that in a sentence, we will say, when Mr. Wamalwa was giving out his dowry, he was accompanied by a convoy of vehicles. Why do we say a convoy of vehicles and not vehicles? Because those vehicles were aligned in a group. Now we'll call them a convoy of vehicles. Another example, in Kenya, we have a bevy of beautiful girls. When girls are put in a group or when they are in a certain group, we say a bevy of girls. We can refer to a swarm of bees. Mr. Ochuka has a swarm of bees in his compound. Another example, we have a bunch of bananas. When there are many bunches, we'll say bunches of bananas. And we have our cake here. We will say a piece of cake. When we have cut it to this portion, it is now called a piece of cake. Teacher Nelly has a piece of cake. Another one we have is a glass of water. When these glasses are 2 or more, we will refer to them as glasses of water because this is water put in a glass. Now we'll say glasses of water. Another example we have a pair of socks. We don't call this one a pair, but we call it a pair of socks because we have to put this one and this one all together. Now we'll call it a pair of socks. When we have many pairs, we'll say pairs of socks. I need 2 pairs of socks while going to school next year. Or we can even say a swarm of bees, a forest of trees. And when there are many, we say forests of trees. Up to that point, let us now look at countable nouns. Countable nouns. Yes. What are countable nouns? These are objects or people that can be counted in single and plural form. Uncountable nouns, we have single, we have singular, we have singular nouns, and we have plural nouns. So, when we have a girl, in plural it becomes girls. We have a child. In plural it becomes children. And then we have an ox. In plural, it becomes oxen. Up to that point, those are a few examples of countable nouns. Under singular, we have girl, a child, an ox. I expect you to give me many more in my comment section. The last example of concrete nouns, we have uncountable nouns. What are uncountable nouns? These are things that can't be counted, or we cannot put them under singular and plural form. For instance, we have water. Another example, we have salt. Another one, we have sugar. For examples, we have water. Teacher Nelly poured some water on the floor. And we can even say, I want to swim on water. And I will say, I need some flour to bake the cake. I need some baking flour to bake my cake. We can even say, can we count the salt? No. Now we'll say, I need some salt to add on my stew. Let us list a few examples of uncountable nouns. We have water. We have salt. We have sand. We have flour. And remember, we don't pronounce this as flour, but we pronounce it as flour. Thank you. Another one, we have oil. That is all on concrete nouns. Let us now move forward and look at another major type of nouns, which is abstract nouns. Abstract nouns. First of all, what are abstract nouns? These are nouns that cannot be perceived by all the five senses. Meanwhile, we cannot see them, we cannot touch them, we can only feel them at some point. And these abstract nouns are normally associated with our feelings and even emotions. They may include sadness, happiness, joy, love, peace. Examples in a sentence. We can say, God's love is eternal, meaning God has love, and that love we cannot see it or we cannot touch it, but we can only feel it. So it falls under abstract noun. I need some joy. Please, I need some joy in my heart. Another one is peace brings happiness. Another one is there is no room to sadness in my life. Those are few examples of abstract noun. Up to that point, we have come to the end of our discussion on types of nouns. During our next class, we'll be discussing on pronouns and give examples and even talk more about them. Until next time, please don't forget to hit the subscription button and give me a thumbs up. Remember, it's your teacher, Teacher Nelly. Bye-bye.